We are going to go ahead and get started because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. And please know that this is going to be recorded and it will be made available online if you want to watch it back later. Quick show of hands, did you hear about this on social media anywhere? Okay, good. So not that many people. We did receive hundreds of comments and questions on social media regarding this program. Hopefully we'll be able to address everything thoroughly throughout the presentation that we'll be having in a little bit. But one of the primary questions that came up from the social media posts about this program was regarding the funding source. So I'd like to first say thank you for being part of this program. We very much appreciate you being here. My name is Alex Tosca, for everyone who doesn't know me. But in order to facilitate and make sure we get that question answered right at the forefront, we have a special guest. The director of our Office of Management and Budget, Caroline Sturgis, she's just going to say a few words about the city's budget and how we manage it and how this program is being funded. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone in the room as well as online. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak with you briefly. I know you didn't come here to hear from me, so I am going to be very brief. I believe I was allocated 10 or 15 minutes, but I am going to narrow that down to 5 minutes so we can quickly get to the real reason of why you are here. But let's address the question regarding the funding source for this program. The Homebuyer Assistance Program is funded by federal grants through the American Rescue Plan Act that was passed by Congress 3 years ago. Those dollars are funded by the federal government and are not funded by the city's general tax revenue. So grant funding for Homebuyer Assistance Program is a crucial tool in promoting home ownership among residents, particularly first-time home buyers and low to moderate income families. So we here in the city of Port St. Lucie, we are fortunate to be able to partner with our federal government, which allows us to offer this program through federal dollars, not the city general tax revenue, thereby creating equitable opportunities for home ownership and enhancing the financial well-being of our residents. So as you are planning your new home purchase, I want to congratulate you all in the city. I do want you to please keep in mind that in addition to your mortgage payment, you will be responsible to pay for property taxes. I bring this up because that was one of the questions that was asked is taxes funding this program. So for your property taxes that you will be paying on your new home, it is based on the assessed value of your property, and it is a combination of city, county, and school taxes. There are tools that are available to help you in estimating what your property taxes are. You can visit the Property Appraiser of St. Lucie County's website for the tax estimator tool. I talk about property taxes just as a reminder of the importance of property taxes. They are our primary funding source for essential public services such as roads, police, parks, and other programs. This funding does help the city to maintain its reputation as being the safest large city in the state of Florida. It also does improve our traffic, bicycling, pedestrian safety, and it provides over 48 unique park and recreational facilities. To learn more about the city's property taxes or our budget, we do encourage you to visit the city's website. So that is it for me. I do thank you for your time and listening to me, and I want to wish you all your best in your new home purchasing experience. Questions at the end, right?
Yeah. Okay. We can send them to you though if you have to. Thank you. Thank you so much, Caroline. Yeah, we thought that it was important to preface the whole presentation with that because a lot of people, even if they're already existing homeowners, tend to have a lot of questions about property taxes and where the property taxes go and how much property tax is going to be collected and so forth. So it's important that you know that here at the city, we care about educating our residents as much as possible. And if you have any questions in the future, you can call our 24/7 City Hall line or download the app and submit questions and service requests as well from online. The number for that is 772-871-1775 or 871 1 PSL. So as I mentioned earlier, my name is Alex Tasca. I'm with the Neighborhood Services Department. We are the ones who manage a lot of the grant funding that comes into the city. Based on different types of rules and regulations and acts and legislations that enact certain programs and funding, we build programs based on that and the needs in the city. We know that home ownership is something that a lot of people really care about. We are one of the cities with the highest home ownership rate in the entire country, about 80%. We pride ourselves on that. So we help our residents refer them to any resources if they might be having troubles and so forth. And at the same time, we also try and accept or receive as much grant funding as possible to help assist with these types of programs, even though there is a very large demand for this kind of stuff. So recently, we have moved, like many municipalities in the state and across the country, into a partnership with what we call a CLT. CLT stands for Community Land Trust. And this partnership is really important to us. It's been proven to be a best practice because one of the fundamental conditions of a partnership like this is creating a stock of homes that are available to certain income bands within a community, right? So you're here today. You will hear about all the program qualifications to get through the first phase of this program in a few minutes when we begin our presentation. But this program, based on the parameters that's put forward by the federal government through the American Rescue Plan Act, which is funding this program, the grant, we have set up the parameter of what the income band will be that can apply for, get approved, and move through this program. So the maximum income is 120% area median income. If you don't know exactly what that means, don't worry, because we're going to talk about it during the presentation. And there is also a minimum income that the entire household can have. And a lot of people have been asking why. Why is there a minimum income? Why is there a minimum credit score? And that's because of the nature of the program and home ownership and having to be approved for a mortgage. So those were just some of the main general questions that bubbled up during this past week or so when we published the information about this program. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more. Right now, I'm going to get ready to pass it over to our housing experts at the Community Land Trust of Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast. They will begin a presentation that will go through a lot of the details of the program, beginning with what is a CLT, some of the program qualifications, and then how you can apply for the first phase to get through the first phase. I will say that this program is very popular. We haven't run one in a very long time. Funding is limited, so it will be done on a lottery basis, and we can talk about that more. The very last thing I want to say before I hand the floor over to our CLT partners is we will save questions to the very end of the presentation. So please jot them down or keep them handy for that. But keep in mind when you're asking questions here today, either by typing them in the Zoom chat or by raising your hand here in the audience, try and keep them as general as possible for a larger audience or the public at large. If you have very specific questions about your individual circumstances or your credit score or anything that is really personal, we ask for you to refrain from asking that today in the larger group, because you can call us or email us and we can talk to you one-on-one about all of that before the application cycle opens and during the application, just to avoid having to get into any personal details about personal circumstances, because we also don't have the time to do that for everyone. Okay? All right. Thank you all so much. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and share the presentation on the screen. Christina? And Christina Hewitt, the housing manager from the Community Land Trust of Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast, will take over now with her presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm sure I've spoke with a few of you along the way. Made sure you came to this because there has been a lot of questions, and this is where we intended to make sure that everybody could be informed. And so about our CLT, we're a nonprofit mission-based agency, so whose purpose is to create a permanent stock of affordable and workforce homes in the community. We're created in 2006, and to date we have created 71 single-family detached homes and townhomes, 80 multifamily affordable rental units, and we have 28 single-family and townhomes under development and coming. All of those happen to be, though, in Palm Beach County, which St. Lucie residents are eligible for. Just as an aside, it's another option maybe, depending on your situation. And just to kind of give you a little overview, we're going to start with this lovely video, which talks about what a CLT is.
Community land trusts, or CLTs, are nonprofit organizations that acquire, own, and steward land permanently for the common good. The most common CLT land use is housing, but retail, office, and a variety of other uses are possible. CLTs give formal decision-making voice and power to local community residents in determining land uses. Here's how CLTs make home buying affordable for families in their communities. First, the CLT builds or buys homes using one-time public or private investment. Next, the CLT sells just the home to a low-income buyer who qualifies for a mortgage, and the CLT keeps the land, holding it in trust for future generations of home buyers. In return for being able to buy a home at a discounted price, the family agrees to pay it forward and sell to another low-income family at a price they can afford. The CLT manages the sales process, ensuring that each home buying family builds some wealth from a predetermined, limited amount of the sales proceeds. In this way, the one-time public or private investment in CLT homes makes lasting affordability a reality and stabilizes communities. And CLTs benefit the larger community too, as they preserve and protect housing for long-term residents, helping to build stronger, safer, and higher quality diverse neighborhoods, contributing to greater educational attainment, employment opportunities, and health outcomes. Visit groundedsolutions.org to learn more about CLTs today.
So what a community land trust is a community-based nonprofit corporation. They're in over 120 communities nationally. The first one was founded in the state of Georgia over 50 years ago. And we tend to have all what we call a tripartite board. So it's various sectors of the community and the general public with a third of the seats. And a third of our seats are actually reserved exclusively for consumers. And actually, our last project in Port St. Lucie, one of the homeowners in that, she sits in one of those seats, ensuring, and then we like to have that because we want to ensure our consumers have a seat at the table, because they are definitely have a stake in our organization and a valuable resource as well. So what a community is, we take a different approach to creating permanent affordable housing and how subsidy and homeownership is structured. And in a basic sense, we have some similarities to condos, even though we're not, because when you buy a community land trust home, you're only purchasing the home and the landscaping, the utility hookups. We as the land trust maintain ownership of the dirt. That's all we own. And then at closing, we execute a document called the 99-year debt ground lease, which gives you exclusive use of the dirt under your home that protects your interest. That's why a bank.
I'm sorry about that, Christina.
That's okay. I know what happened. It's all right. It happens sometimes. And that's why a bank will give you a mortgage, and why that bank could turn around and sell the loan to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Because as I always tell potential buyers, banks aren't in the habit of giving away money. They call it a loan for a reason, because they expect to get paid back, and that's why they were willing to do that. And a memorandum of that document as well will be signed and filed at the clerk's office with the rest of your mortgage documents. And the reason we do a memorandum is a full ground lease is about 80 pages. And when you file documents, you pay by the page. So a 4-page document keeps your closing costs down, saves you money at the end of the day. So, and here's just a little visualization of what that looks like for you. You know, you own everything else. I own dirt, basically. And that ground lease serves a purpose. That is what governs our relationship. It says my responsibilities as the community land trust, yours as the homeowner, because under the law, you are a homeowner with every legal right and responsibility that goes with home ownership. One of the easiest ways to put it is your dog bites the neighbor's kid. They're going to sue you, not me, because you are the homeowner. And we're also here, though, as the land trust to be a backstop and a resource to help you be a successful homeowner as needed. One of the things, like during COVID, we were doing quite a bit. Today, we're much more, everybody's kind of gotten back to normal. Thank goodness, after that crazy time. There's no other better way to call it. It's kind of gotten to the point now everybody's like before and after. But that's where, we link people, and we're here as a resource. So one thing to remember, though, about CLT home ownership is this, though, and this is an important caveat, and it is part of your ground lease. The home always has to be owner occupied. It can never be rented to a third party. There are caveats in it, definitely, to pass that family legacy on. We recognize that is important to many people in their families, and passing that home down from generation to generation. And you can definitely do that. As long as your family member is going to live there as their permanent resident and their primary. If you are going to sell the home because life changed, you just came up with the next best invention since the Post-it note, or you're going public with the next best thing since Facebook, we have, as a CLT, that first option to buy the home or to assign a buyer, which saves you real estate commissions, because as the seller, you do have to pay if you're using a realtor. Our last resale, we figured our seller saved about $18,000. That was money she got to keep in her pocket instead of paying out of her closing costs. If the next homeowner is not going to be one of your heirs, it's going to be somebody like you today. A first-time home buyer who meets the income guideline at that time. So no, your income isn't tied to what the income limits are today for a household of 4. It will be what it is in the future, and they can go up and they can go down. I've watched it do both over the years. Additionally, because it's going to another first-time home buyer, in the ground lease, there is a formula that determines the sales price, so that, assuming as values have continued to go up, that hopefully obviously the intention is that you would get some return, but also it would be affordable to that other person to pass on, and they're going to get some benefit out of it. And with our Port St. Lucie program, the way the resale formula is structured is it's a 1.25% increase per year of ownership. And this, because of the way this program is structured, we kind of did it this way so that people can kind of see a visual, because I know sometimes a simple math problem in front of you is a lot more helpful than something abstract. So say the original sales price was $300,000, and you did receive that $100,000 in homeowner assistance. So the affordable price in the ground lease, that's the starting point, would be $200,000, because we deducted that out. And 1.25% of $200,000 equals $2,500 per year of ownership. And in this scenario, the homeowner's been there 10 years. So their share of equity that is accrued is $25,000. And we then add that to that $200,000 price. So the next home buyer will pay $225,000. And one thing I do like to note, under state law, the $200,000 is what will be used to start your property taxes, not the $300,000. So that keeps your tax bill down over time as well and saves you money that you can put into other things. So with that piece, and we're going to talk a little bit about the actual program, what it is, so we can go forward. And it is a partnership, definitely. And we evaluate it with the city of Port St. Lucie, where we're going to be making up to $100,000 available to assist 4 to 5 households that are 120% of area median income. You do have to be a first-time home buyer, which means under the HUD rules, which is what we live and die by in these programs. And this is going to be true if you are working with other nonprofit first-time home buyer programs like Habitat for Humanity. They use the same definition as well. I know many people are familiar with them, which means you either never owned a home or you have not owned any real estate for 3 years. A vacant piece of land counts, a house in another state, a condo you may have in Puerto Rico. That is real estate. And so that's where that thing is. And of those buyers, once they get through the process, we're going to give them a letter showing that they have this money they can work on, and they're going to go out there and shop for a home that will be co-bought by us, the CLT, and yourself. And at closing, the ownership is all separated out, meaning you're going to get the house, the landscaping, and we're going to maintain ownership of the dirt, and the ground lease will be executed at the closing table. And that is standard with any CLT purchase, doing the ground lease at the closing table. So program qualifications, because every program has qualifications. First off, like we already said, you got to be a first-time home buyer. Meet that definition. That's a hard, fast rule. There's no exceptions. You're also going to need to be mortgage ready, which means for one of our partner banks, that means 620 middle credit score, and that's for all borrowers. So if it's you and your mom or you and your spouse, both of you have to have that score. You're not going to be able to get a loan. And you do have to have savings for down payment closing costs. Recommended, we always tell everybody you should have about $8,000 to $10,000 because the cost of your appraisal is going to be the cost of the appraisal. The cost of your home inspections are going to be pretty much the same regardless of how much you're spending. Some of our required partner banks can help. Actually, the two of our really good ones right now, they both have abilities to help. One can even, if you meet their underwriting criteria, do 100% financing, but they are very strict on that, meaning you cannot have really any debt. You need to be debt-free. Another hard, fast requirement, and this is from the city, because the city wants to make sure their community members can stay in their community, which means you have to either live or work in the city limits at the time of your application. For live, we're going to be documenting it through a state-issued ID and also look at utility bills. And if you work, we're going to be doing verification of employment. One thing I'd like to note, family members living in the city does not count unless you physically live with them, and you can prove it with your driver's license, because that's where your residency is, or utilities. Additionally, work means you really work here. It's not just the presence of your employer in the city. Like, for example, the big one I've always gotten, I work for Publix. Well, Publix is everywhere. So unless you work at a Publix in the city of Port St. Lucie, that doesn't mean you work here. You have to be already here. We know there's some people that have unique job situations where they travel through like health aides and different things, and they're on the road, but they're pretty much working, and there's ways, and we can document that. That's the key. All right. The other thing we do want to go over is the income guideline. Because this is federal money, they do have requirements. HUD makes this chart, not me, but this is what we have to use per their guidelines. And there's a maximum income, and it adjusts for the number of people in the household. In other words, a household of one, that income maximum is going to be lower than for 4 people because it recognizes there's more people. And when we say people, that includes minor children as well. They do count in addition to adults. Also, an adult that's not on your mortgage, we have to count their income towards qualifying for the program. That's because they're going to benefit from this federal money and getting to live in this great house you're going to purchase. So they count. So that would mean an adult child who's not a full-time student, or an elderly parent getting Social Security. Their income counts. And by law, we have to count it, and they will have to submit documents and sign certain things as well as a result. Additionally, as Alex pointed out, we do have a minimum, and that is $70,000 regardless of household size. This number comes out of the reality of the real estate market, meaning cost of homes, the fact that in the city of Port St. Lucie, figure when we were doing market analysis, about 80% to 90% of the properties we saw on the market had a condominium or a homeowners association fee that has to be included in your housing expenses, in addition to just the interest rates currently. Right now, they're not changing. If they go down, my mouth to God's ear. Please let them go down. I know it would help a lot of people and make things more, but right now we have to work with the conditions we have in the market. And that's why that $70,000 is there as a minimum income. We don't want to set somebody up to fail, because if it's less than that, you're never going to, there's just nothing there, sadly, on the market at this time. Market conditions change in the future. We do this, and when we do this again, that number definitely can change. All right, so you're going to apply. There's a lot, as we can tell, there's information you need to have on hand when you go to do that. So these are things you're going to definitely you want to have on hand for your application so you can get at it regularly. The other piece is, if you end up being one of the first people when we start processing, you're going to need to provide this stuff to us as well. That way you're not ransacking your storage unit, the rest of your home, trying to find it. So first off, 60 days of pay stubs for all adults. That includes adults who are not on mortgage and deed as well, who would not be on. So that elderly parent, that 20-year-old son you may have living with you, et cetera. And that includes all jobs. So if you're working too, we got to put both of them on the application. We have to count to the penny. A Social Security award letter, if it's applicable. Also proof of any other income. You're going to want to have, like, a pension or Social Security disability. If you are W-2 employee, you're going to need 2 years of tax returns and W-2s. If you are self-employed, mean 1099, you're going to plan on having 3. Because we're going to use that number off the net business off your Schedule C. That's what we use. That's what the bank will use also if we get to that point with as well. You're also going to need to have on hand proof of permanent residency for all household members, including minors. That can be a U.S. issued birth certificate, a passport, naturalization certificate, a green card. And this applies to everyone in the household. So there's no exception in that respect. If you're getting court-ordered child support or other income on behalf of a child, you do need to put that into. It does count. I will note those 2 items can be used as long as you'll be receiving it for 3 years after closing on the loan. A bank will consider it as well to help with mortgage qualification. If applicable, a marriage certificate or divorce decree, and also have a list of your monthly debts with payments and balances. That means each individual credit card. Not grouped together, each one, because everything's going to come down to a ratio in lending, and paying off one credit card sometimes means the difference between getting a loan and not. Also includes your car note, student loans. Even if you are in an income-based repayment or deferment, the bank's going to look at those because they want to see what's going on, especially if they're in deferment, because sadly someday you're going to have to pay the student loan. But that's how the reality is. So the online application period opens up at noon on June 12th. It's going to be on our website, so it's virtual, and close at 5 p.m. on June 17th. When you go through, you're going to click on the Port St. Lucie Apply Now link, and it will tell you and take the eligibility quiz, because we do ask certain questions. And if you don't meet the basic eligibility requirement, you will not be provided the application. And this is so you don't waste your time because you don't meet the requirements, because it's not a long application, but it's a commitment. You got to make sure you get everything in, and you're going to follow that link provided, because it'll say, it looks like you're eligible. Click here, and you click the word here, and a new window opens, and you'll enter everything in. We do not take any documents at this stage, and we never pull credit. The only people that will pull credit will be one of our required partner banks. If you do need assistance with an application in an alternate form to borrow a computer, you can contact Alex at the city and she will facilitate that process for you. And her number is there. So the overall basic program process is have your needed document in hand for completing your application. Applicants will be invited to proceed based on an order selected in the lottery, which means we're going to take, once that window closes, we're going to make sure there's no duplicates in there. So applying 3 times isn't going to help you. We're going to take those out. And we're going to take all the applications and shuffle them like a deck of cards. And that's going to determine the order of when we go for the first 12 houses. We're going to ask for certain documents to come in to review, such things as those pay stubs, the tax returns, proof of that of either working or physically living in the city of Port St. Lucie to determine basic eligibility. And we are going to process those first 12 based on receipt, which means if number 10 gets me all their stuff first, I'm looking at their information first, regardless. Versus number 5, even though they're higher up, we're going to send this out at one time. It will be sent via email. We do send a couple follow-ups with the deadline just in case, but make sure to check your spam and junk during that time period just in case. Once determined you're potentially eligible, we will assist with the mortgage application process with one of our required partner banks and also do the income certifications, which is where we at the CLT will do third-party verifications of income, assets to make sure everybody meets the guidelines and verify various information. Reason we are using one of our partner banks is because not all banks do leasehold mortgages or CLT mortgages. Additionally, we do not permit mortgages from anything other than an institutional lender, which is pretty much going to be a bank. That's why we clear out ahead of time. And the other reason is this: we don't want to get 2 weeks before closing and the legal department says, oh, we can't do your loan after you've spent money on an appraisal, because they commonly are not transferable to another lender, which means, and right now, the last bill I saw for an appraisal for a first-time homebuyer was about $550. That's money you could use for something else. You're going to need a truck to get your stuff to your new place. Also, during this process, you'll attend, and they're done virtually as well, a CLT homebuyer and ground lease orientation. That's where we really go deep into what CLT homeownership is and the ground lease section by section so that you're a fully informed home buyer and really, make sure we want you to be confident in what you're doing. The other thing you're going to be doing is 8 hours of home buyer education through a HUD certified housing counseling agency. We can get you referrals. Many of them are doing virtual classes, and that is going to consist of a 6-hour live class, no self-guided. You have to be in a live class, and they do them virtually. Like I said, that's something. And then also a 2-hour one-on-one with an individual counselor for the full 8 hours that way. And that's where you and the housing counselor will look at your specific situation. And if you have specific questions, that's where you can ask those about the mortgage, etc. Once you get a letter, you're going to be shopping for a home and get with us before any offers are made, because we want to make sure the home's going to meet the qualifications of the program. Built after 78, concrete block structure, has a hurricane safety system in place, meaning shutters or Miami-Dade impact windows. So, we want you to make sure you're buying a quality home, not a money pit, because we know most of what your savings is going in is to getting the house in the first place. And once we got under contract, we'll work to closing. And prior to closing, you will meet with an attorney to review the ground lease. There's a couple ways you can do it. We can facilitate it at no cost through legal aid and do it quite a bit. Actually, I'm doing it with 3 homeowners this Monday in Palm Beach County. Other options I've seen people use, I had a client who had prepaid legal services as a benefit with her job. That's how she did hers. Another buyer of mine worked in the legal field, and one of her colleagues, one attorney she worked for, did that process. It varies. Most of our buyers utilize legal aid since it is free, and it's about a 2-hour process, and they're saving quite a bit of money as well. Or you can always still do it at your own expense. Please note, too, there's a limited amount of funds, as we pointed out. So receipt of a shopping letter does not guarantee you receiving the full amount of funds for your home purchase. Funds will be allocated as contracts are accepted until all the funds are allocated. And like we said, it's an up to amount. So if you don't need the full 100,000, you won't be getting it. This is not about lowering your mortgage. This is about filling gaps so that you can get into a quality home that you can afford to stay in, raise your family, live, work, play, have a great life in Port St. Lucie with. So, and lastly, that is my contact information. Email is sometimes the quickest way to get a hold of me because the phone, I'm one person and the phone sometimes is, when it's ringing, I can only get to one person at a time, sadly. But look forward, and I know Alex is going to facilitate the look at the question box and see what we have.
Thank you all for attending. We're really happy to be able to do this program, even though it's only a little bit of funding and we won't be able to serve anyone, but a lot of people, but it's a start. So hopefully as we build more grant programs, we'll be getting more money. So maybe if you're not successful this time, you might be successful later on in a future program. But thank you all, and I wish you good luck.